I think the tribalism aspect of all of that is so fierce right now. I mean, and the political spectrum has moved as well. As far as
Oh yeah.
if you are seen on the left, if you are in that side of politics, you need to be hardcore. There is not people. People don't.
Yeah.
People are not woke enough. That is the
Yes.
issue here. And then if you're on the right, it's just like, hey, we're moderate. Do whatever you want. You know, if you're gay, you're straight, cool. If you're black, white, wonderful. And that
I'll tell
seems
you the
how it's moved.
there's a truly fundamental reason for that I write about in the book that I really want people to understand, because I think people see exactly what you just said there, but they can't quite figure out why that is. And it makes sense. There is a reason for it. So if you're on the right, let's say you're a conservative, and I know these terms are a little bit different for Australians than they are for Americans, but I think most people will kind of get what we're saying. If you're a conservative or a libertarian or a classical liberal, basically a limited government guy, you believe in individual rights, meaning that you believe that if you're an Australian citizen or you're an American citizen, you deserve the exact same rights. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It doesn't matter what sexuality you are, the rest of it. That's the underlying principle. And to add a little more from an American perspective, if on the right, people believe that the Constitution is our founding document, that is a good document that has freed people. So there's a unifying principle. Now, it doesn't mean that they all behave the same way or think all the same things or any of that. I'm far more libertarian, let's say, than most conservatives. So like on an easy one, like I'm for legalizing weed, most conservatives aren't. That would be a very easy one. Now on the left, they don't really have a unifying principle. The left, broadly speaking, they believe in government. So the government should do a lot. And then to get to your point where they're always outdoing each other to be more woke, it's like, oh, well, I believe in government. I think government's good. So no, I believe in more government. I believe in more government. And that's why they always spin out of control. So an easy example would be like $15 minimum wage is a debate here in the United States. Now, me, from a liberty perspective, I don't think the government has any right, certainly the federal government, to tell me as a small businessman, which I am, to how much I should pay my employees. Now, I pay all my guys extremely well, and they work hard for me, and I pay for all their health insurance, and I'm happy to do it. But I don't think the government has a right to tell me what to do. Now, on the left, you get Bernie Sanders, and Bernie goes $15 minimum wage. Now, Bernie's never run a business. He has no idea about how that actually works and how that'll drive up prices. And, you know, we've got automation right now. And if you're going to tell McDonald's that they have to hire people at $15, they're going to replace them with iPads and all the problems with that. But then what happens is someone else will come along. In this case, there's a congresswoman here named Rashida Tlaib, who's another progressive. And she says, no, not 15, 20. And it's like, well, I guess, yeah, why not? Because you made up a number. Now you just made up a higher number. Why not? I guess you're a better person. So because they don't have an underlying principle that's related to individual rights or true freedom or liberty, they just have, oh, I kind of feel like we should do this stuff.
From that mindset, it exists.
That's it.
Like,
that's it. Yeah.
That's a positive mindset to have, is like, hey, people should be paid that. Agreed. Absolutely. They should be paid more money so they can live and have better lives. But where does that money come from?
Well, that's the thing. They often, what I always say about Bernie Sanders, or just generally these people, is they say things that sound good if you're just thinking about it at one level. So most of it sounds good. Healthcare for everybody, free college for everybody. Like that kind of sounds nice, right? But then when you think about it, that there's no such thing as really free anything. Where are we going to take this money? You know, why should we be allowed to take money from some and give it to others? What is ever enough? And they never really have answers for any of that stuff. And by the way, that's why whenever socialism has been instituted, wherever it's been tried, a lot of people die on the way. They bring it with a smile, right? They say, oh, we're for everybody. Hitler, I mean, the Nazis were the National Socialists. The idea was we're going to make a better society for everybody. But what do you got to do in the process of that? You got to kill a lot of people. And I always compare it to Thanos from the Avengers movies. Thanos saw a universe that had finite resources. And he thought he was a good guy. He said, I'm going to wipe out half the universe so that we can survive. But wiping out half the universe is a pretty bad thing. And that's unfortunately what the socialist ideology leads to. So I don't think Bernie Sanders in and of himself or Jeremy Corbyn, although I do think he's a worse person, I don't think these people want to wipe out half of the universe or half of Earth. But I think their ideas are so flawed that it starts spreading the seeds for regular people to do some pretty terrible things.
And that's one of the attitudes that I see quite a bit with this debate in Australia, and it happened after a young lady was unfortunately murdered and raped. And this attitude of you shouldn't have to worry about people attacking you in public in a dark spot, and I agree with that. It's very much the similar sort of attitude of, hey, minimum wage should be $15 so people can live their best life. But unfortunately, you do have to worry about people doing horrible things. You do have to be concerned about crazy people because they exist. We are not in this utopia that this progressive mindset calls for. And there will never be this, we will never reach that utopia. They'll never be happy enough. And I think that's just a strange world to be in, where you are constantly trying to find something and build something that inevitably will fail.
Well, if you try everything you can to get to utopia, most likely you get to dystopia. I mean, that's really what happens there. So the idea that, of course, everyone would agree that no woman walking down the street should be afraid, of course. And that's what I mean about the bumper sticker version of it sounds right. Well, we all agree with that, and then it sounds good. But then it's the policies that they have to institute to make that happen. So what would it really take? Like, let's say some politician in Australia said, we're going to really make that happen. Well, okay, that means you have no dark alleys. So we're going to put lights everywhere. Now we have electricity costs or whatever, but also we should probably have drones circling everything all the time, recording everybody at all the time, making sure nobody ever does anything, which, by the way, still won't stop bad things from happening, but you'll have given up a lot of privacy. You'll have given up a lot of personal independence and autonomy in the process, on top of all the costs and everything else. So that really is the tough part for, I think, those of us who are just basically good people who want other people to live how they want to live. We have a harder job to sell something that's real. If I was just selling snake oil, I would just use the Bernie bumper stickers. And that's what he does. Free college for everybody. Well, why does Bernie want free college? Is it because he really, putting aside that he knows it's not free, is it really because he wants everyone to learn as much as possible as you're supposed to do in college and then go forth in the world? Of course not. If you ever wanted to indoctrinate the most amount of young people into leftist dogma, where would you send them? You'd send them to universities where 90% of the professors are leftists. So he's not dumb, but you have to look below the layer. And right now it's like we're in the middle of this corona thing. And so he's screaming about socialized medicine. And it's like, you know what? A lot of the countries that have socialized medicine have the worst situation related to corona right now. But you have to think that through. So we have to get over the bumper sticker stuff. And that makes our job, I think, a little bit harder, but probably a little more rewarding too, because it really makes you think about why you think things.